large audience out there of close to 200 people, and we're absolutely delighted that you can join us today. Regenesys is a business school, as you know, and a very important part of what we do is to share knowledge and information where we can. And these forums, these workshops, these webinars are a very powerful mechanism for sharing information from experts in the field with other people in the process. And we've got an absolutely mind-blowing group of people with us today, and we're delighted to have them with us. So let's go into introducing the team over here, and they're each going to introduce themselves by name because their CVs are formidable, and to read them out would take us the whole afternoon, and you want to hear what they have to say rather than what they've achieved over there. So let us start off at the top of my list all the time in this process, and we continually refining that. To our audience out there, I see a number of questions have come up. I'm just going to complete the round of conversations over here, and then we'll dig into some of the questions you've raised over there. So the audience out there, don't go away. We are going to address your question, but I'm just giving the panel an opportunity to give their inputs over here. And I think we're off to James now, aren't we? Hello, James.
Hello, James. Thank you very much indeed. I've got 3 points I'd like to briefly make, and maybe there's slightly different perspectives because we have operations around the region. The first one is actually in the design of mines themselves. I think the mine of the future, and it's certainly the thing that we look at when we design mines, will have many fewer permanent staff. My company, for example, I'm the only full-time employee at the moment, and we have 12 operations around the subcontinent. And there will be a much greater use of contractors, consultants, virtual staff. So the old days, for example, the old inherited days of the gold mining and other industries in South Africa, I think are long gone. And one must get used to much more flexible, agile organizations. This leads me on to my second point, and it's someone already mentioned about mining models. I think it was Italia from overseas. And one of the models that we often look at, particularly for very remote operations, and I'm talking remote here being in the central Kalahari of Botswana, is the Australian model, which is fly in, fly out. But the challenge we have here, and it's the same challenge that we have in South Africa, is that although there is the temptation to have a vast amount of automation and mechanization, that we still have to do something from a moral and ethical place to actually employ youth. So there is that dynamic which one must actually embrace and try and find a solution around. And the third one, and this one's a little bit of a bugbear for me, and we talk about automation and we talk about technical skills. I'm a very firm believer that you still need very deep technical skills, and there's no substitution for that. I continue to write papers, for example, in my discipline. Secondly, those deep technical skills must be integrated with other technical skills. You know, if I'm a geologist by profession, but I'm also a chartered engineer, so I can do engineering, mining, and all those kind of things. And then thirdly, and I just want to give a little anecdote, when I hosted some honors students from a top university in this country to one of my sites. And this little story will explain my point, that I was talking to some of them as they were leaving, and these are now graduates. They're out there in the mining space. And I said to them, would you like to do the kind of job that I do? My job is to raise money, find mines and build mines, but I spend much of my time in the field. And they said, God, no, we want to be out of the field as quickly as we can, and we want to sit in an air-conditioned office and do our things. Well, let me tell you, the future mining leaders will not be those people. You've got to be able to embrace working on the mines, working in the field until you're, I'm in my 50s, until you're into your 50s, but you must maintain at the top end of your technical disciplines. And then on top of all of that, in my view, comes this the whole area around artificial intelligence, big data, new technology, and those kind of things. So wrapping up, first item is different business models to different mines, and that should be music to your ears, James, as a business school. The second thing is to try and find that balance between reducing employment and employing youth. And then thirdly, there's absolutely no substitute for deep technical integration and remaining in the field, whether it be on the mine or on an exploration site.
You're absolutely right about that, James. I'm very excited what you're saying about mining models over there, because that is really lies at the crux of this. Because while you're talking about these deep technical skills, the person who has these deep technical skills is going to apply those skills in a very different way. And I particularly liked your thing about while you're busy optimizing your mind to get the goodies out the ground as quickly as possible, that you have an ethical and moral responsibility to the environment, to the community, and to the country in which you're working over there. And that creates a little bit of tension in the process. And maybe we can pick up on
it already.
I think it's James now, isn't it? James Campbell.
Thank you very much indeed, James. Just a couple of comments from my side. To reiterate what I've said earlier and add another little wrinkle to it. South Africa, in my view, has a major opportunity because South Africa was the domain of larger mining companies for a great deal of time. What that creates for us as mainly smaller and medium-sized companies is the deployment of technology can drastically reduce the capital and operating cost profile from a large mining company, and the change in the organization in terms of actually how you run the company, the layers within the company itself, how you pay people, how you reward people. So I think there's that combination of technology and organization, which creates a great opportunity for South Africa. The second point, which is we haven't developed on, but this is how I believe it's mining in its broadest sense. So it does actually include exploration. And most of the easy to find deposits have already been found. I think that's a truism. So how are we going to find new deposits? It's only going to come about by a breakthrough in technology or a combination of technologies or different thinking around geological models. There was a very interesting exercise done about 5 years ago in Canada, where they gave a piece of ground in virtual space to a number of artificial intelligence and big data companies and said, here's all the data generated over decades. Go and find the gold mines there. Find them virtually. One company did find it. It's a company called Goldspot. It was listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange about 3 years ago. But that kind of advanced thinking and advanced technology will be used in this country in the not too distant future, where it brings everything together. Never replace the human. I don't believe in the exploration environment, but will certainly help create that technological breakthrough to allow us to find the next world-class deposit, to allow us to actually have an industry for our children and our children's children. Thank you, James.
Here we go. Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Mark,